Welcome to Market Like a Hotshot. I'm Jeff DeSocio. James Feudo, what's up?
Hey, here for episode 6. Can you believe we've gotten this far?
You know what's really cool today? Our new website.
Oh, yeah?
MarketLikeAHotshot.com
That's
is
right.
live. You need to check it out. Also, our Instagram.
Our Instagram's up there and LinkedIn,
I-
and you'll be able to find us everywhere.
Everywhere. We're going to
Which
be
is
everywhere.
wonderful.
We'll be in every room in your house. It's official. We're psyched. So today, what are we talking about? It's a really cool topic.
Yeah, it really is. It's things that they don't teach you in college about marketing. That's our topic for today.
You know, honestly, I didn't learn anything in college.
I always joke. I mean, I feel like you learn, my experience in college, I felt like you learn a lot more outside of the classroom than you do inside. There are, I learned how to do web design in college, so in
Yeah,
grad school.
I'm
So
just
you do
being-
learn, yeah,
Just being funny.
you do learn some
Yeah,
good stuff.
you
but-
do. And it teaches you a lot about logical thinking.
Right.
You know, I have an engineering degree at Northeastern, go Huskies. And, it's logical thinking and community building and learning how to work with people. I think that's
Right.
where college really helps.
It really does.
You build some of my best relationships. Like yesterday, I'll just go on a whim. I hung out with a dude and his wife, me and Heather, my wife, that I've known for 37 years. I met him freshman year, Northeastern, longest friend I've had. So college is all about relationship building, learning how to be a logical thinker. But sometimes it doesn't apply to the real life, right?
Right.
Especially in marketing.
Right. So one of the analogies I like to use is that you can read books on swimming, you can watch YouTube videos about swimming, but it doesn't mean when you get in a pool you won't sink.
Exactly.
So marketing's kind of like that as well, right?
Of course, I mean, you think about, if you go to school, they'll do some case study.
Right.
Somebody told me about ExxonMobil. I mean, I totally forgot about that. And they just did a case study on it. I think what you got to do is today in school, they got to be a little more relevant to what's going on now.
Right.
And apply the tools that they have now, So
Yeah.
it's just, of course, what do we have? What's the real world simulation today?
AI. AI is the big thing.
It is.
But that's one of the key things about it is that AI, as great as it is at simulating things, you can do an exercise in school and they have all these programs and tools to do that. But it's no substitute for the real world. And, simulations they can't emulate the real world because there's too many changes, right?
Exactly. And then if you're in working for a marketing agency,
Right.
You have clients.
Yeah.
Their expectations change. You work with vendors. How do you learn about this in college? How do you learn about pivoting under pressure? That's the big
Exactly.
thing. You got to have like 9 assignments done in a week. But really,
Right.
talk about you own a marketing company. It's a great example.
Right. And I mean, what you're saying, I think back to college, and one of the things that you do learn in college is how to interact with people. But it's usually your peers, your professors, occasionally, right?
Yeah.
You'll get out and meet professionals if you're allowed to, if you're able to connect with alumni and people like that. But in the real world, you've got clients, you've got vendors, you have coworkers, you have people that work for you, or maybe you work for somebody else. And that's a whole different set of relationships. They look completely different than a group of 4 or 5 people that are on a group project with you, right?
Yeah, and they're all nice to you usually.
Yeah.
Right. Another big thing is stopping the scroll. Right. I always talk about as a marketer, your key is to stop people in their tracks and
Right.
listen to you. Do they teach that to you in college? I don't know. We can ask some of our amazing marketing students that we work with, but that's a big one, right? And then how do you talk strategy and strategic simplification? I can't talk today, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things when you think about strategy, it's just the world is changing. It changes so much. So you mentioned case studies in ExxonMobil. I remember I used to work for a printing company.
Yeah.
And we printed up a bunch of case studies from Harvard Business School. I used to read them on my breaks and learned a lot about
that's
different
dweeby,
things.
man.
I know, it was dorky, like however many high school kids that are doing that. But I was I was fascinated by that. Now at Northeastern, did you guys use those cases at all, or
Of
did you
course.
ever? Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of, well, if I remember right, because I took some communications classes too. They would trust Toastmasters a lot and give some examples and how this person would kind of applied marketing. I talked about
Right.
marketing, and they have some good information, but
Yeah.
in reality, does it
Well,
translate to real life or not?
yeah, but I mean, not to go off on a tangent, but you mentioned Toastmasters, which was something that was heavily promoted back when I was in college. A
Yeah.
lot of the business books that I read, do Toastmasters, and I did. I did
Me too.
Toastmasters. I was a club president and area governor. I know you did your CTM or your first 10
CTM.
speeches.
Yep. First
I
10.
did, a couple of those things, and it's great. You really do learn. And public speaking is another thing that, like, no matter how much you read about it, how much you watch videos on it, until you actually get in front of an audience. I used to teach public speaking, and I would tell people that. But kind of getting back to strategy and the case studies, right? Like, technology has evolved since, certainly since when you and I went to college, but even if you're a more recent college grad, right? Assuming somebody graduated 10 years ago, how different does the world look today?
Like, what's an A/B test today? If you think, they probably, the school, they probably teach you how to do A/B tests.
Right.
But compare what you learned in school to what you've been doing in real life as owning your own marketing agency.
Right, and in A/B testing, the thing about it is that it's not always definitive, right? Like Google, they went through 46 different shades of the color blue for one of the letters in the logo to get it just right,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, Google's a huge business, so there's some value in doing something like that for them.
Yeah.
But if you're a smaller business, right, you're doing A/B testing, if you're just starting out, you don't have the sufficient crowd size to do an accurate test, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are tools out there that will automatically do A/B testing on like a YouTube video, right? Like a cover photo on your YouTube video. But if you're only getting like 5 views on the video, it's really hard to tell. If you're getting 5,000, that's a whole different story. Like, have you noticed that as well?
I noticed that too, and I know you brought up something earlier where it's talking about a traditional LinkedIn post.
Right.
Sometimes you're gonna get 10,000 views,
Right.
or sometimes you're gonna get 50.
Yeah, I always
Yeah.
think about that. I posted a motivational quote, and then I got something like 20,000 views on it, and 60-something people shared it. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go and try and repeat the magic, right?
Yep.
Did it like maybe 6, 8, 9 months later, and got barely any engagement.
I don't know. Maybe they don't like people are blocking you, dude.
Yeah,
That is blocking.
it's got to be it, right?
You're doing too much stuff there. So hey, let's get into one of my favorite parts of our podcast: Hotshot tactics.
Right.
Right. We got 3 hot tactics today.
Mhm.
Right. Launch, learn, and repeat.
Right.
What is that all about?
So the thing is that execution really is the teacher, and there's a lot of ways of approaching this. And in our organization, one of the things that we do is we like to learn. So we do something, we test it out, we see how effective it is, and if it's working, great, we continue with it. If not, then we change our approach, and we do change 1 or 2 variables about it, or depending on the feedback that we get, we might go in and just drastically change it. But it's, do something, see how it's working, analyze that data, and then adjust it to make it meet your goals.
Exactly. Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, execution is the real teacher, right?
It is.
The real life. Real life. That's really the nutshell. We could talk about this in 2 minutes or 20, but it's execution in real life. Right?
Execution is critical.
And
right?
what's the second hot shot one?
It's building the real relationship. So let's talk about
Networking. Woohoo! My favorite topic, right?
It is.
From interns to investors. I talked to a guy yesterday. We were up in Newburyport, and he's worth $80 million. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
Big real estate investor, right? So how do you learn how to talk to people like that in college? You don't.
Right.
You just don't. I was at some awesome place, and I love shout-outs. Sunset Grill, Newburyport, Mass. On Plum Island. Great place.
Very
right?
cool.
And the guy's a really important guy. We had a great conversation about events and all that, about marketing, how he's marketing his business. And he got word that I was a marketing dude.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great talk. And then of course, now let's switch gears when it's messy. All right. So
Right.
building a know, like, and trust relationship that.
Yeah.
Well, you have a bad day. How does that relate? You've had bad days.
More than I care to remember,
Yeah.
That's one of the things that's really true when it comes to, like you mentioned, bad news. It's very easy to give good news, right? Giving bad news is incredibly challenging, and it's something you almost have to rip the Band-Aid off and just say, look, here's where it is. And they don't really teach you that in college because you don't experience it. You don't really have an opportunity. Yeah, you may go up to your professor and give them an excuse about something that happened. Not the old dog ate my homework, but, like legitimately today the issues are that internet went down, couldn't connect, there's a lot of reasons why things break, right?
Yeah,
things
exactly. I was in IT. That's
Yeah.
all. Remember we used to have those buzz phones that wake you up in the middle of the
My
night?
goodness,
Things
yeah.
broken.
Yeah, I have some stories about that.
That's
I used to have
another
a beeper.
Oh, jeez. Does
But-
anyone know what a beeper is out there? No?
But along those lines, it's just that, sometimes you have to have those difficult conversations. And the only way that you can do those conversations is, you can do role playing, and that can get you part of the way there.
Yeah.
But it's like if you don't have them in real life, and it's not as easy to do them. So like once you have your first really difficult conversation, it's a lot easier to have your second and your third, and you get used to it. It's kind of like, you're doing something for the first time, you fumble over it, and then once you can survive it, then it gets to be a point like, you and I both have long careers in IT, and how many times have you had to go and deliver bad news?
Hell yeah. I used to sit in war rooms, they call them, SWAT
Right.
rooms, at Tiger teams, and CEO of the company,
Yeah.
of a $25 billion company, sitting across the room, and you're
Right.
trying to explain why the .com site's down that I built.
Wow.
And it's just, you have to understand audience and talking at their level, and that's real world. Does that happen in school? Everyone's nice to each other in school. Maybe some professors could be angry, but in reality, it's not real world, and that's about building real relationships. That person at CU got to know me,
Yeah.
know, like, and trust, and that he trusted anything I had to say at the end, which is pretty cool at the end. So,
And they like it when you're a straight shooter too, because they know that they can trust you if you're giving them updates and not just telling them what they want to hear.
no, I love giving bad news. It's kind of funny.
Well, I think about it recently, and we'll move on to the next one in a second. But last week we had an issue where a plugin caused a problem with one of our client websites. So it's a third-party plugin. It's not our code. And I had to explain it to them. I gave them all the details, gave them all the information, and then told them what our next steps were.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we have to work with plugin developers. It's, these are third-party tools. So it's not necessarily our fault, but it's not the best news to give to someone. And, what they appreciated is I gave a nice explanation about it and explained what happened, why it happened, and what the developer is doing to fix it.
Yep.
And it's great because it wasn't us that caused it, but even if it were,
Yeah, but the customer sees it.
yeah. And I've done that too. Like you and I both work for big companies, and there's times where people on the team have dropped the ball.
Yeah.
And I remember I worked for a big company once too, where similar to you, big site, big launch, there was an issue, and it resulted in 20 minutes of downtime, which for an e-commerce site is like
$1 million an hour.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
It could be like that, and thankfully this one wasn't a big deal because the site was still just testing, but still, like, there were people that were looking at it, and I just went in and I'm like, here's what happened. This is what caused the problem, and this is what we did to fix it. So it's it's a part of life. So
It is.
how about the third? What's our third one?
Let's nail it down. Adapt or get eaten. Right. So this is all about really keeping up. How are you out there keeping up with all the new stuff that's coming out literally every day?
Right.
If you really think about it. So one thing I want to look at, and I want to kind of a little sidetrack, call it 3A. The goal of marketing is to make salespeople happy. Right?
Yeah.
Really, at the end of the day, a marketer is going to attract the right audience to get salespeople happy. Sorry for the little tangent there, but what that really means is how do we keep up with what tools help us do that?
I know, it's like literally like sipping from a fire hose.
I love the fire hose concept, right?
Because that's what it is, right?
Yeah,
I was listening to something yesterday with 15 AI tools, and I only heard of like 4 of them. You know,
Yeah.
there's so much. It just if and we did an episode on AI a while back, but the tools are always changing with that space, and it's just getting more and more. I mean, we're going to at some point we're going to do the social media graveyard, right?
I can't wait for that one.
And we'll talk about like all these. Remember, MySpace was everything. Then everyone was on Facebook, and we can do the same thing with search engines. But like, that's the thing. It's the tools, and then the market is also constantly changing. So it's something you've got to be on top of. One thing that helps me is I'll listen to, the latest news. I have technology news that I'll listen to when I drive over here in the morning.
I listen to like rock and roll. You listen to that?
I do. I'm
all right. Yeah.
But remember, I was the guy that was reading Harvard case studies on my break in high school when I was working for a printing
That's pretty
company.
impressive stuff.
Yeah.
So you think about marketing is really not a course, right? It's a career built on curiosity, guts, and adjustment. You have to. Big thing is you can't be perfect. You can't look for that perfection. You have to just constantly be a learner.
Yeah.
Every single day, just learn. Join newsletters, go to events. American Marketing Association, Boston, right?
Yep. Our president's right here.
President right here. Wow. Don't. Yeah. But it's like you have to be around the right people. They always say the 5 people you hang out with the most. Hang out with the 5 best marketers. They'll keep you attuned to what's going on, right? So we're landing the plane, James, right here. What do we got left? 1 minute, man. We're done in 1 minute. I'm putting pressure on you. Go ahead.
I'll make it quick, which is just that if you found any value in today's episode, leave us a review, like it, share it, comment. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know which one of these tactics or what pieces of advice have impacted you or resonated the most with you. So,
I want to talk about next week. Mm-hmm. Branding versus conversion. What do you think of that?
That's going to be a fun topic. I'm excited.
That will be a fun one. Style versus substance. How the Hotshots handle both, right?
Right.
But we have to keep creating, pivoting, and marketing like a hotshot. And check out our website, marketlikeahotshot.com. Check us out on Instagram, marketlikeahotshot. Like us, share us, comment. We'll see you soon. Jeff the Show, James Feudo.